I'm gonna record, okay? Start recording it, okay? Okay. Kris, can you introduce yourself for the coaches in Taiwan?
Yeah, no problem. So, my name is Kris Robertson. I'm currently the head strength and conditioning coach at Simon Fraser University, formerly with Rugby Canada at the Women's Sevens Academy in Toronto, so the Development Academy. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Cool. So, I saw a lot of things you posted on Instagram, and there's can you tell everyone about how to manage volume intensity for the strength, speed, and power?
Yeah, no problem. So really what it comes down to is the management of volume and intensity for strength, power, and speed. It's kind of just done by just undulation. So undulation of volume and intensity is paramount for kind of any kind of adaptations you want to get. So when you think of it in terms of strength, speed, and power, it's really no different. What really got me to kind of formulate my thoughts around this and like how it looks and kind of how I manage it is the book called The System. So it's by Johnny Parker, I think Alvar Meal or something like that. It's a really good book. I've posted about it before, but it's really helped me formulate my thoughts. And then with that book, it's really about more so about weightlifting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it was one of the guys I talked to named Joey Gasario, who's down at FAU, and this is in Florida, so I know South Florida. Anyways, he really showed me how he applies it to speed and jumps. So I've kind of taken that, remastered it, and kind of came up with my own way of kind of doing it. And it's really just a matter of looking at the end and then breaking it down by percentages. So kind of, I know, if there's a certain amount of, speed that needs to be done in a 4-week block, I'll kind of break it down. It's like, off the top of my head, I think it's like 22, 28, 35, 15% each week, and kind of break it down that way. And it's definitely helped me, and it's helped with my athletes in terms of, getting faster, stronger, and more powerful. And I've seen some really good gains by kind of working it this way.
Cool. So I heard some of the podcasts you did with, I can't really remember. So you mentioned in the podcast how strong is strong enough for athletes. Can you talk a little about this? How much should they squat?
Yeah, so we always want to kind of just quantify things kind of in S and C, right? We kind of want to know, how fast is fast and how strong and all these different things. So what I kind of did is, there is not really much literature in the women's realm of strength and power work. So I kind of, especially in team sport athletes, so I kind of just sought out to kind of figure it out. So what I did was I just put our girls on a 12-week strength program, just try to get the strength numbers up as high as we can. And we're doing speed training simultaneously. And kind of what I found was, again, 1.25 to 1.3 times body weight for the front squat seems to be that threshold where, they're strong, right? That's strong enough to kind of go for speed. And what I found was our athletes that were in that 1.25 to 1.35 to start and ended up getting stronger, ended up actually getting slower, while the weaker girls actually got faster. And that they fit into that window. So I found that sweet spot. So once they kind of get to that threshold, I then start focusing on power. And that consists of, just like lighter loads, variable resistance, things like that. And then with men, what I've found is, again, front squat, again, is about 1.4 to 1.5. And that seems to be kind of that sweet spot. Now, we have to understand is, we're talking about speed. We're not talking about health. We're not talking about, that's a whole other beast. And I have other standards that I want for that. But if we're purely talking about speed, these are the thresholds that I've found to work. Again, there is limb asymmetries. There's things that you need to, not limb asymmetry, sorry, limb differences, right? So you have taller athletes, shorter athletes, and things kind of differ. So I'm actually at the point right now where I'm actually working on figuring out based off of height. I've read some really great stuff on shot putters and things like that. And I think based off, taller athletes don't need to squat as much. And that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out. But I just need to get the data and kind of formulate it and see how it works.
So why is it like front squat instead of like back squat?
It just happened to be that way just because at Rugby Canada, that was our standard. So we tested the front squat. That's been doing for, I don't know, years and years. So I'm like, why am I going to go kind of, switch things up? So what I kind of do is for the back squat calculation, I take the front squat, I multiply it by 1.2, and that gives me a back squat number. And the back squat number for 1.25 to 1.35 is about 1.5 to 1.6.
Yeah.
And for the men, it's about 1.7 to 1.8. So that's kind of what's been seen. And yeah.
It's like lesser than what people would think about. Usually we want our athlete to like squat between 2 times body weight and between 2 times body weight and 2.5, right? But
yeah, that is I look at those are good numbers for based off of height. So if I look at it, like if you work with someone who is 300 pounds, for example, and you have someone who is 350 pounds or 300 pounds, I apologize, them squatting 600s, that's a lot of weight, right? Right. That's a lot of weight. So it's like for them, I kind of bring that number down. I think it's like 1.8 or something like that. Because like a 550 pound squat, no matter what you are, that's a big squat.
Yeah.
Right. That's a lot of goddamn weight. And on top of that, if you're 300, you're going to get taller. So it's like things different. So you're putting more force into the ground to do. There's a lot of variables into it. So a lot of what we see in this 2 times body weight is based off of like, high level, like lifters and things
Olympic
like that.
lifters.
Not even actually. Olympic lifters are probably closer to 3 now. Like these guys and girls are strong, but 2 times body weight for the most part is where I see, for me, like in the sport of football, for example, I like to see my smaller guys squatting around 2.5 or 2.2 to 2.5 in around that range because they're lighter, right? Once you get over like that 250 pound mark, squatting 2 times is like, okay, that's what we want. But once you get to that 300, it's like, I'm not looking at 2 times body weight. You have a guy that's 350 pounds. You want him to squat set. Like, are you crazy? You know how much weight that is? 700 pounds, right? So you got to kind of just change the standards based off different things. And people's, again, squatting is squatting, yes, but it's, some people just squat different. Again, they have longer femurs. Like in sport of football, you have tackles and things like that. They're very, very long. So it's them squatting is a little bit different. It puts different types of stress on their body.
Okay. So you mentioned like there's like tackling. How do you like prepare these athletes for the tackle?
For the what?
Tackle.
Tackling, like contact?
Yeah.
So really and truly is the thing about tackling. Tackling is kind of you're moving against someone against their own will, right? Their own volition. They don't want to go down. You need to take them down. So a lot of it has to do with actually teaching them to kind of get into people's personal space. So think of it, we just do various different drills. So like wrestling and things like that. And a majority of the time, athletes aren't really comfortable being that close to one another. So you actually have to develop that. So working with different wrestling drills, combat drills, right? Things like that. Then from there, it's more so kind of, the physiological adaptations that you're looking for are, again, from a strength power standpoint. And then as well as kind of just, doing exercises in the gym to kind of help carry over and transfer those movements. Again, tackling is essentially rapid hip extension, rapid triple extension with a stiffening of the entire body. So again, core work, making sure that, you know, the musculature around the shoulder and things like that are suitable to kind of take on those kind of endeavors.
So can I ask about like the physiological adaptation of speed? Like, yeah.
So really into like when I think of like kind of the physiological underpinnings of speed, I kind of break it down in kind of just like strength, power, and then kind of coordination, right? So when it comes to kind of strength, power, and coordination, so we kind of talked about those strength thresholds. So are you able to produce enough, you know, slow force, right? Again, to overcome your own body weight, right? The inertia to kind of get yourself moving, right? Power, I kind of look at it is in terms of from a really simple way to put it is jumps, right? Broad jumps, triple broad jumps, things like that. So I kind of have standards based off your training age and kind of where you are. So younger athletes, the further they jump generally means the faster they go. As you get older, jumping further, jumping higher doesn't really correlate well to speed.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just where we start looking at, you know, VBT and things like that, and looking at limb asymmetries and power asymmetries between left and right leg in various different jumps. Then lastly, the last caveat is kind of like just the coordination piece. So it's like, think of it like motor learning. So when it comes to that coordination piece, it really comes down to, again, when you are sprinting, it is essentially like light switches on off of your muscles, right?
Yeah.
Then you have, you know, specific co-contractions and things like that. So you have to make sure that these patterns are, you know, firing properly. And that's really just like kind of like this technique work. So doing your, you know, technical work that you do with your sprints, like you're in your warm up, like, you know, your A's and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of that technique work, that's going to help develop that coordination. And then, you know, with the coordination piece is just sprinting, just sprint, practice, right? And kind of getting into, I like to think of it as like an unconscious state. So with regards to unconscious, I mean, is you're not thinking about it, without thought, right? So a lot of people, when you are drilling technique, will focus on like, okay, my arm needs to be here, my leg needs to be here, I need to bring this up. You're never going to be that fast if you are constantly thinking about it. So, which is why I talk about being unconscious.
Yeah. So like when training speed, there's like a lot of like force velocity profile. Like recently it's like going huge right now. Do you use that, like these kind of stuff?
Yeah, I can kind of say I do like a force velocity profile. I don't do it the same way like the, you know, the JB Morin or Les Spellman. Like I don't kind of do it that way just because I don't have the equipment.
Yeah.
And I just don't have the budget to kind of do it that way. So there's a really good paper out there by Matt Cross, and he kind of breaks things down in terms of velocity decrement. So what he found is like you have your strength speed zone, power zone, and then speed strength zone. And with the strength speed zone, I think it's strength speed. Yeah, it's about a 75% decrement. Power, again, is 50% decrement. And then you have speed strength, which is a 25% decrement. So I kind of skate along that continuum, and that's kind of how I do it. So how I do it now is essentially you have timing gates, and I kind of have them 5 yards apart, and then they go through with different loads. So they'll go no zero weight. So they'll do their body weight, 25%, 50, 75, 100% body weight. And then you kind of just solve for it, like using y equals mx plus b, simple formula, linear regression, and kind of just solving for that 50% decrement. And then you get your optimal load, and then you train at that optimal load for however long. I generally like to stick to it for about 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and then I kind of go from there.
Cool. So, like, how about force velocity profiling for like jumping?
Yeah, so that's actually something I haven't done. I've worked with people who do that, like they work with divers, they work with volleyball players and things like that, and they've done that. It's something I actually may look into doing because I'm going to be working with volleyball, I'll be working with diving, so I'll be working with sports that kind of require that. It's not something that I've had to use for my athletes because jumping jumping isn't the sport. Jumping is essentially what we use as a tool to measure if they're getting specific adaptations and they're improving in speed. So when it comes to the sport of actually like jumping is a major requirement of your sport, then I'd probably apply it. The same way with those jumping athletes, I wouldn't apply a sprint load velocity profile. I would do, right? I wouldn't do a jump with them. So vice versa, I'm working with a jumping athlete. I'm not going to do a sprint with them. I'm going to do a jumping with them. So it's kind of based off what the sport needs.
Yeah. So if it's like for football and I'm going to like developing like speed, like how long does it usually take for those like field athlete to like be able to unconsciously do the, let's say, acceleration phase, like the technique was like properly good? How long does it usually take?
It all depends on kind of the athletes, but again, we're not looking to make them track sprinters, right?
Yeah.
So again, they just need to be proficient. So the key things that I look for, where are you striking your foot in relation to your center of mass, right? In early acceleration, we kind of see that kind of underneath and kind of behind us.
Yeah.
All right. We want to see aggressive shin angles.
Yeah.
Right. And then just violent arm swings. If they kind of got that, they're okay. I don't look for it in the track stance where it's like, okay, no, because again, they don't run linearly much in sport.
Yeah.
Right. And then on top of that too, there's other stresses. So like you have the four kind of the coactives, you have the physical, the technical, the tactical, and then the psychological, right? When you're running in track, a lot of it is, again, there's technical. The tactics is not as much, especially in like a 100-meter sprint.
Yeah.
It comes into play versus, right? But again, and also too, is like there's no other stimulus other than the gun. It's you running against yourself kind of. In team sports, right, you're dealing with an opponent coming at you, multiple opponents, your wing, who your teammates are, right? Then you got to worry about where you are in relation to the field. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the goal? There's so many other variables that come into play that we don't need to hark down on spending so much time and getting them to look like sprinters. It's just a matter of getting them basic, simple principles, as I said, in early acceleration, underneath and kind of striking behind you, aggressive shin angles, as well as looking at arm swings, things like that.
Yeah, cool. That was like good. That the answer was like very detailed. Thanks, man.
No problem.
I heard like you were like pro football player before, right?
Yep.
So how do you become like a strength coach, like strength and conditioning coach right now?
So I actually started. So I went to my first year of school was 2009, and then I went into the summer of 2010 as my first off season while I was in university. So I really enjoyed training myself. Like I had my trainer and I wanted to train and I trained really hard, but I could never find a job that could kind of give me the flexibility I needed to train my body. So my dad actually recommended, he's like, why don't you just become like a personal trainer? So what I actually started doing is I started training people like outside and like boot camp style and things like that. And I did that for all my years through university. Then after that, I knew I wanted to get into sports performance, but I didn't want to do it while I was playing. So I kind of waited till I finished playing. So unfortunately, like I tore my ACL, that kind of cut my career short. So from there, I moved into like a fitness supervisor role at George Brown, which is like a college. But I was working with like the general population. I wasn't working with like sport, like high sports performance and things like that. So from there, I did that for about a year. And then I moved into, again, the CFL, the Toronto Argonauts, which is a professional football team. So American football team. and I got an internship there. And then from there, I went to Rugby Canada to Simon Fraser now. So that's kind of where my progression went. And yeah, it was a pretty easy transition. I know I like physical performance. I like helping people. And then what it actually ended up coming down to was there was a lot of the science that I was missing. So I went to school for sociology. I didn't go to school for kinesiology. So I actually had to learn that. So that's what kind of helped me. Like, I'm doing my master's right now at Edith Cowan, and that's kind of really helped bridge that gap for me. And I've really caught up with the science part. And now it's just more so an art. So once you understand the adaptions, you're good.
Yeah. So the next question would be like from one of my audience. And he want to ask, like, basically what we train, like the way we train athlete or the thing we train athletes, basically like boring stuff like power clean, hand clean, squat, front squat, deadlift, whatever that is. Or like, even when we're training like speed, like acceleration and max speed, we can't really do things that was like interesting, right? You can't really do things it looks good on Instagram. So what he want to ask is, how do you convince your athlete to do those things and let them to trust you and trust the process?
I think get them results. You got to get them faster, get them stronger, make it very tangible so they can see. When they see it, you have them, right? Like that process is not as easy as it sounds. It takes a while. And sometimes you lose people, sometimes you win people. It's a matter of showing them that you care and showing them, you have a plan. So being like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. My plan is to get you here. You know what? It's going to take X, Y, and Z. And then kind of explaining these things as you go along and figuring out a way to explain it that kind of in their terms. You have some athletes that are really interested in the high level science. You have other athletes that aren't. So it's just a matter of what are you going to do to make sure you get to that point.
So is it like before all the training session starts, there's going to be like a meeting and you're going to explain it to everyone? No,
I think you got to figure out what your style is. My style is I talk to my athletes during rest time.
Okay, good.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I figure out when to talk to them, how to communicate and things like that.
And is it like there's going to be like a lot of like testing, like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks for timing their speed, that kind of stuff? So they see, no?
No. So testing is, I don't really like to do conventional testing. My training is I'm testing every session. We're doing something. I'm jumping. So they're seeing slow, steady increases. Like I just had a tennis athlete and we improved her jump about 4 inches over about 6 week time period.
Well, that's good.
But guess what? Right. It's not that bad. So, but what we did is we slowly increased it. It was just like, okay, she was at like, I think 16 inches. We brought her to almost 20. And it was just like, okay, 16, 16.1, 16 point. And it was just pop, 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 pop. Some weeks it went back down and you kind of explain why. You know what? We're going through a little bit more volume right now. But again, we're think of a slingshot, you pull it back to go forward. So it's kind of using analogies, figuring out what that athlete needs and going from there.
Okay, cool. How about like the coaching staff? How do you build the trust with the coaching staff?
The biggest way I found is you let them lead with a lot of things. You provide expertise when needed, and you do what you say. I think the best way to work with coaches, you under promise and over deliver.
Okay. But how about when like the times, like there's going to be like times like the coaches want it to be like this high and it's like, maybe it's like, the goal was unrealistic.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's just more so providing education. You got to be able to educate. You got to be able to talk to your coaches and kind of just explain certain things. So you know what, certain coaches, they have this, and they're just kind of just being able to prove to them. That's why it's important to collect the data.
Yeah. So
if you can be like, hey, coach, a 2-inch improvement in a vertical jump is impressive in a high level athlete.
Yeah.
Your athletes have improved 2.2. We have over exceeded, but the coach might have in his head, hey, I wanted 5 inches. And he's like, that's just not realistic at where these athletes are. So, you know what I mean? It's a very simple example I just used, but like, that's kind of along the lines of how I think about it.
Cool. Like, so when it comes to like team sport athletes, there's usually a lot of times that like there's like new coaches, there's going to be trouble in like monitoring their fatigue and programming their like strength session and speed session during the season, or how to help them recover. Like, how do you do this kind of stuff? How do you like monitor their fatigue and like programming their training like in season and off season?
So really and truly, volume is the mother of all, abilities to manage fatigue. So kind of what we do is we build out a YTP and like a yearly training plan. And basically what happens is the coach puts in, where they see it's going to be higher volume, higher intensity. And I kind of just work the opposite of it.
Yeah.
It's really simple. It's just a matter of, and what we need to understand as S&Cs and as, sports scientists and practitioners and things like that is that you can improve and maintain strength with very little. Yeah. So to give you an idea, I have my in-season program. I will get athletes to improve their squat by 10 to 15 pounds over a 6 to 10 week season, right? Like a hard season. And we do 3 sets of every week, 3 sets of a bench, 3 sets of squats. That's it. And
every
we do
week.
Yeah. 1 week. Like we do twice. We do 2 lifts a week, doing 2 lifts a week. I will do a 3 sets. Right. And then I will do 3 sets of squat plus accessories. The other day I do 3 sets of bench and then accessories, and accessories are 2 sets. And they're in there 30, 45 minutes. They're done and their strength still increases. You just need one stimulating set.
Yeah.
You can maintain strength by 1 stimulating set. Now, in saying that, what you do before plays a major role. If your athletes come in like crap, don't expect improvements. But if they come in strong, we will see strength and power improvements as the season goes on. The season is kind of where you actually get a lot of your gains.
Ooh. So 3, like, if it's like, you just said like 2 sessions during the in-season, right, per week, right? So the main lift would be like squats. And can I ask, like, what is the accessories? Like, let's say like if it's a squat day.
So both days are total body. So think of it, it's going to be, it'll be mostly like the lower body squat. It'll be some kind of power clean, deadlift or something like that. And then it'll be upper body kind of accessories. And then the other day will be upper body compound movements, right? They'll do some kind of jerk, vertical press, and then they'll do lower body accessories.
Cool.
That's kind of how I've broken it down. And it's like five or six exercises.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of how that's it.
So 3 sets. And so basically the intensity would be like higher than 80, right? Or 85, right?
For the most part. So let me think. Yeah, it goes, if I remember, it's like it goes 70. Yeah, in a 6-week block, you're looking at 75, 80, 85. The next 3-week block is going to be 80, 85, and 90. Go back to 75. Bop.
Kind of like wave loading.
Wave loading. That's it. That is it. And I do a countdown. So like week 1 is like 10, 8, 6. Those are the reps. So they're adding more weight and they're doing less volume. Just very, very simple. the 6 reps is a 75%, and that's your stress rep, right? And then it's just like, boom, you go down to week 2, it goes 8, 6, 5. Go down to week 3, then it goes 6, 5, 3. Then we go back to 80%. Then it goes 8, 6, 5, right? And then you go again to 85. I'm pretty sure. How do I do it? I think it's like 6, 5, 4 or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I have it all written down. But yeah, it's very, very simple.
Yeah.
I just find it works.
So less volume. Do you do like speed? Like
you have to.
Movement technique. I mean, like technique work, like movement. That kind. No, only off season.
Yeah. So for the most part, you got to think they're already getting a lot of technical, tactical stimulus through other means, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to be doing their sport practice, and this is in team sport practice and things like that. So it's just make sure getting them the stimulus, making sure that they're at least reaching top speed running. If you have GPSs, you can now manage that a lot more carefully because you can see what they did at practice, and you say, hey, you know what? Based off this, you need to do more running. You need to do less running.
Yeah, got it, man. I think the content was really good. And the way you just explain the wave loading is like, it's like really easy to like, because the wave loading is kind of like the new Taiwanese coaches really don't, I don't think there's many Taiwanese coaches know about wave loading, but the way you explain it, I think it's easier for them to like understand.
Yeah,
Thanks,
no
man.
problem. It's definitely something that when I learned it, it really changed how I program and the results I was getting. Like and then like, so during season, I'll wave load, right? Again, I think if you just really follow, like, if you look at like Louis Simmons' West Side Barbell, you'll kind of get a really good idea of kind of how he does it.
Yeah.
When I'm off season, I do kind of 2-week blocks of accumulation and kind of intensification. So we'll do the exact same workout 2 weeks in a row. Switch the percentages 2 weeks in a row. So I'll go, the first 2 weeks, I'm working at 70%. Last 2 weeks, I'm working at 80%. And then I kind of just go bap, 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 bap. And then people just get strong and they get fast really quick.
Yeah. That was like so smart, man.
Yeah, I stole it from everyone. So again, like I've created nothing. I've just stolen everything. Like that's kind of what S&C is, right? Yeah. So like to give you an idea, wave loading, I get that from Louis Simmons. And then accumulation technique, I get that from Charles Poliquin.
Cool. So you're gonna still like I kind of heard that you're gonna working on a new project with your university, right? I think it's like, is it like basketball team? I don't know.
Yeah, so I'll be working with like a bunch of different sports. So it's just a matter of what we're doing. So we're going to be looking at a lot of different things. So kind of, I'll be posting things. So kind of just stay tuned.
Okay. Because there's one of my audience, he's graduate from the university you were working right now. And he kind of
really?
Yeah. So he's like so looking forward to this.
Yeah, is he out there?
I mean, here? No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post it on YouTube, and he's gonna see this.
Okay, all right, cool, man. Yeah, no, tell her like it's I think it's gonna be the next few years is gonna be pretty fun.
And like the building the relationship with like athletes and coaching staff, that question is from him. He works he works with like in Taiwan, it's kind of like the coaches, like the basketball coaches or like the, let's say, tennis or table tennis, whatever the coaches is, they don't really trust like strength and conditioning coaches. Yeah,
I think that is in a lot of sports that's kind of the case, and it is hard to get across that barrier, but it's a work in progress, and that's all it is. You just got to kind of just keep chipping away at it every day, which is why building relationships is kind of one of the most important things.
Yeah, thanks, man. So
No problem, man.
So is it possible, because I'm a Canadian actually, but I'm like working in Taiwan now. Is it possible, like maybe if there's like maybe next year I go to like Toronto and visit you, and
I'm not in Toronto. I'm not gonna be in
oh
I'm gonna be in BC.
oh
Yeah.
is it possible for me go to there and like intern, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, that's not a problem at all. I'm actually putting out a posting soon for the internship program. So we kind of have a 4-phase internship program that we're developing,
Yeah.
and it's going to be really about coaching. Then like our phase 1 is about coaching. Phase 2 is kind of about like data management. Phase 3, special strength, and phase 4 is about individualization. So it's we're looking to build a really robust internship. At SFU. So it's gonna be fun, man. So yeah, just
Cool.
look out for those things and go from there.
Okay. So finally, like if there's like coaches like wanna reach out to you, like can you tell them where can they find you? And is there like future program you're gonna want them to know?
Yeah, so where we're looking is you can look on Instagram, so at krob23, and then on Twitter, I'm at Coach K Strength. And then for future, I'm actually in the middle right now of building a platform where I'm actually looking to find like just young coaches, and I'm creating like a membership portal. So on this membership portal, we're going to see again, building coaching relationships. You're going to be presentations on various different topics, but really it's going to just be providing education for young S&C coaches, and kind of just go through kind of like my story and what I learned and what I felt helped me, or what I felt I could have done. So it's kind of just like a mentorship platform that I'm looking to really build and really help these young coaches. And I'm going to make it very affordable, because again, we don't make a lot of money in this profession.
Yeah.
So you gotta make it affordable. And then, yeah, that's kind of where I'm moving. I do online stuff, so I do sell programs and things like that, but I'm kind of trying to move more into the education realm. That's kind of where I'm moving in the next
Cool.
next 5 to 10 years.
Cool. So is like if there's like the platform, are you gonna be posting on the Instagram or like?
Yeah, that is all. Give it some time. We're still building out content. The webs, like all these things are being built out. It takes a while, and to kind of get to where I need it to be, and then figuring out the business model and all those things. On top of having 2 kids, a wife, and a full time, it's a lot, right? So things get pushed, but it is a work in progress, and it's something that's going to be very unique.
Sure. I mean, I'm looking forward to that. So if you launch it, let me know, okay? I'm gonna share it for you.
And awesome, I appreciate it.
And if you need like someone to translate it into like Mandarin, I'll help that, okay?
Oh, that's actually, I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna hold you to that.
I translate. I translate a lot of courses like Exos. I'm an interpreter for Exos during the Taiwan. They're doing the education courses in Taiwan, and like TACFIT, that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna hold you to that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Good. So thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it.
No problem.
For your time. It really helps.
All right. Thank you.
See you. Keep in contact.
See you. Bye.
Bye.